are now going to go to the health corner. And today we are honored with a daughter, or one of us, our daughter. She's a professional, she's a registered nurse, and she is also an apostle in praise and worship. A daughter that we love so much in this house, hallelujah. A daughter we are blessed with here, and this is none other than NJERI. So NJERI, you are welcome to take us through the health corner.
Thank you so much for the honor to come and speak here, Pastor Rebecca and Pastor Philip Mwanga, where he is. We honor you here. I will try and be quick because I am so passionate about what I speak about, and so I can talk all day about this. But yeah, so like you heard, my name is NJERI. I'm a nurse. I love science. I have a background in neuroscience, so you'd be surprised how much affects how much your brain controls as it pertains to other organs of your body. But today, I wanted to focus on something that has been plaguing a huge chunk of the population in America, and it is the issue of obesity and diabetes and how weight affects all those together. So I think there's one thing that I wanted to clarify when I came here, because I think sometimes when we talk about obesity and being overweight, people assume it's like 400 pounds, being 400 pounds, but actually it's not. So if your height does not correspond to your weight, or if your weight doesn't correspond to your height, you're overweight, or you're underweight, or whatever, depending on where on the spectrum it lies. But obviously, if you're on the higher end, then that means you're overweight. So you don't have to be, as big as a truck for you to qualify in the category of being obese or being overweight. So I just wanted to throw that out there, because I think we perceive these words and we think, oh, this doesn't apply to me, but it actually does. So that's why I wanted to start there so we can all pay attention. We talked about eating unhealthy foods last time and how it affects your weight depending on the physical activity that you involve yourself in. If you do not exercise, we talked about eating less calories. If you do exercise, eating the calories that align with your weight, protein, your body mass, all those things. But today I'm focusing mainly on the causes of obesity and diabetes. I mean, being overweight and how it relates to diabetes. And so, one, we talked about getting a physical done. I cannot emphasize this enough. You need to get a physical done if you've not had one done in a while. You need to know where you're at. You need to know what's going on in your body, because that is how a lot of the issues that people have in their bodies can actually be prevented. But because you don't know, then you can't prevent something you don't know, right? So that's why I emphasize that. But anyway, so I want to mainly focus on sugar in the group of unhealthy foods and how that leads to all the health problems that we're talking about right now. So sugar in itself is not a terrible thing. Let me just start there, because I think it gets a bad rep. Every time we say sugar, it's like, oh no, don't eat that. It's like, no, not really. So it's not bad in of itself. You have to take the right sugar and in moderation. So a lot of the sugars that we find on the shelves, they're so refined that the nutritional value is lost. And what happens with refined sugar is your body absorbs it so quickly to where you can have, we talked about the calories and looking at the label, right? So you can have like 19 grams of sugar with 13 grams added sugar, all that your body is absorbing at a faster rate than it should. So your blood sugar is going up, it's literally skyrocketing. in every sense of that word. And so the reason why I started by saying you need to get a physical done is you need to know whether you are predisposed to diabetes. And the only way you can know that is by them testing your blood. So there's something called a hemoglobin A1C. You don't need to know the science of it, but just know that particular lab tests for the average of your blood sugars for the past 3 months. And that tells us how your blood sugar has been for the past 3 months. So if you've been eating all the crap that we were talking about to not eat, we will know. It will show us. So you want to be at 5.7% and below. I say that because there are some people who need to cut down sugar a lot more than the rest of us. And unfortunately, that is just the case because we're all different. Now, there's certain things involved in who is predisposed to diabetes or being overweight or obesity. The first one is genes. And unfortunately, you can't really change that. You need to know what's going on in your family. Pastor Mwanga was talking about bloodlines, right? That's why when you go for a physical, they're gonna ask you, your mom or your dad, is there anyone in your family who struggles with this particular disease? It's because they're trying to figure out how predisposed are you to getting that disease. If anyone in your family has that, it's not to cause you to fear, it's just to equip you to know how to better adjust your lifestyle so that you're not towards the path of destruction, right? We talked about being knowledgeable of these things. And the second thing is a sedentary lifestyle. If you're not exercising, if you're eating crap, which is why I'm glad we started off by talking about not eating crap, right? That way we can regulate that. Sugar, I was explaining why refined sugar is terrible. We talked about how it makes your blood sugar skyrocket, like within a matter of minutes, right? After eating food. Actually, your food is already getting digested in your mouth. So as you're chewing, there's oral flora and oral enzymes in your mouth that is already digesting your food. So from that moment you put it in your mouth, you've already started raising your blood sugar, which is why, like, when someone passes out, you want to give them orange juice or something quick, right, that will be absorbed in the body. Sugar causes fat in that your body will take, so your blood sugar is skyrocketed, right? So your body is like, okay, I'm going to take what I need for energy. You need to walk, you need to exercise, you need to do all these things. Your body will take what it needs for that. But the remainder of that sugar turns into fat. And that is why when you eat crap, you gain weight. That's how it works. What people don't realize is fat is not just some dead molecule. Like, it actually does things in your body. Your fat can produce hormones. And that's why being obese or being overweight is problematic. Those hormones affect one particular hormone in your body called insulin. Insulin is produced by your pancreas, and it's what takes the sugar from when you eat. Insulin, your blood sugar goes up, and when your blood sugar goes up, it tells your pancreas, okay, we need to produce insulin, and then the insulin takes the sugar and puts it in the cell, which is why you're energized to do what you need to do. And then the rest of it is turned into fat, right? We've talked about that. But as you're eating more and more sugar, more and more fat, more and more of the excess is being turned into fat, and more of that fat is producing hormones, and those hormones are affecting insulin. Do you see how it's like coming full circle? And so if it's affecting insulin, guess what's gonna happen? Even the normal things that you need to for your sugar, the normal things that you need the sugar for, rather, there's a disruption in that process, which is why, like, people with diabetes struggle with feeling tired, fatigue. It's because their cells are not getting the sugar that they need. Why? Because the insulin is not working as it should. So you see, it starts with what you're putting in your mouth, and then it comes full circle to where it's disrupting that. The good news is you can actually change this, okay? Oh, and by the way, so that whole process that I just described is called insulin resistance. You'll need to know that because when you hear like doctors say that, you need to understand what they're talking about. Insulin resistance is when those hormones coming from your fat cells are disrupting that. There are other reasons why, but today I'm just focusing on obesity and being overweight. So that's what causes that insulin resistance. And so when you have insulin resistance, that is how you become diabetic. Your body is having trouble. Diabetes is essentially your body's having trouble taking sugar from your blood into your cells. So that's why when they go do your blood sugar, they'll poke you on your little finger and they check your blood and it's like 500 or 400 or whatever. And that's how they know you're diabetic, okay? I want you to know how serious diabetes is. It's the 5th leading cause of death in America, which is why we're talking about this, because we said that if God is to send us to the nations, we need to be alive, right? So we're making sure the church is equipped, and thank you, Pastor Rebecca, for bringing this to where people can know about this, and hopefully you can go share. As you're sharing the gospel, share about insulin resistance. So unfortunately, there's some people who their bodies cannot produce this insulin, and there's like 2 types of diabetes. There's like type 1 and type 2. Type 1 are the people who just cannot produce that hormone, and they usually need the hormone injected into them. Not a huge population struggles with that. A huge I want to say everything at once. A huge population suffers from type 2, and type 2 is the one that you can actually change. Some people, not really because of genetics, and they need a little extra help. But for those of us who you can change this, you need to take this knowledge and actually apply it. So what are the things that you can do to combat the effects of eating all this refined sugar? Well, for one, stop eating it, right? That's just the obvious thing. Stop eating the refined sugar. So you can ask, what should we eat then? There's some options for you. So there are natural substitutes for sugar. A few that I'm gonna mention are gonna be the caveat. So like honey, molasses, like fruit juices, dates. Those are some of the natural sugar types of sugar. The only caveat to those is they can really raise your blood sugar, especially again if you're predisposed to being diabetic. And so this is why you need to know if you are predisposed to getting diabetes, right? Again, not that we're claiming that. I need to reemphasize that. But yeah, so those are the natural kinds. But if you really want to be proactive, you don't even want to wait to know if you're predisposed to getting diabetes. You want to change it right now. There's options for you, and these are called sugar alcohols. There's 2, I asked Jesse to put up, there we go. There's these 2 that are the top of the line when it comes to those sugars. The first one's xylitol, and the second one is erythritol. A lot of times, actually, if you want to know a sugar is a sugar, a sugar is a sugar alcohol, it will end with the suffix ol, all. So that's how you know you're on the right track. But these 2, what they do is they will not raise your blood sugar like the natural sugar. So these are actually good substitutes for you if you're trying to really be proactive in getting the right sugar. These 2 come from plants like berries and some fruits, and they just extract it. They heat it up. There's a whole process to it, and then you get this. That's how they don't raise your blood sugar as bad as refined sugar. Between the 2, erythritol in particular is resistant to dental cavities. And so your mouth has some good bacteria in it that helps promote health in there that fights bad bacteria. So it's called oral flora if you want to be fancy with it. And so erythritol in particular does not cause cavities. So that's another plus as to why you should even choose that, because as you know, sugar does not just cause you to be overweight, it also causes cavities, right? It's creating an acidic environment in your oral cavity, in your mouth, and that's what's causing the cavities. Xylitol is also good as well. The only little thing with xylitol is between the two, again, both of them are at the top of the line if you were trying to substitute your sugar. So I just wanted to get that clear. But of the two, xylitol has a small impact on your blood sugar. So it will raise it just a little bit, but not too bad. Erythritol is the better option, especially for diabetic, because this one has no calories. It won't raise your blood sugar at all. The only thing with these two, as with anything in life, in moderation. Just because we're substituting with these does not mean you pour the whole thing in there. So just be careful with that, because the reason why we say that is because these two, the sugar alcohols, they're very water soluble. So they pull water from your body. And guess what's happening in your intestines when you pull water from your body? You get diarrhea. So that's just the only thing to watch with that. Of the two, erythritol is better with digestive issues, but xylitol is also a really good option. You can find these at Walmart. Like, they're not like just some, out of the blue things that you need to drive 50 minutes to go get. Like, they're actually available at Walmart, Kroger, whatever you want. Let me see, am I leaving anything? Yeah, yes, and they have it in those names. They will literally say this on the pack. And so, yeah, so we've talked about them being plant-based. We've talked about them being resistant to cavities, erythritol being the better one of the two. But xylitol, again, is also a good option. Other things that you can do other than just substituting sugar is eating dark leafy vegetables. Dark leafy vegetables help pull cholesterol from your blood. And so a lot of our plates have less of the greens and more of the carbs and everything. And by the way, remember what we talked about. Carbohydrates are sugar, right? If you eat rice, you're eating sugar. If you eat bread, you're eating sugar. If you eat pasta, you're eating sugar. All those things are sugar. So just be mindful of that. And then the thing with dark leafy vegetables, though, if you're on medication, like a blood thinner, like warfarin, just make sure you talk to your doctor first. I'm not a doctor myself, so this is not medical advice. I have to say that. Go to your doctor and discuss this with them. And the last thing, exercise. They say that the minimum amount of moderate exercise that you need to do is 75 minutes for moderate intensity. 150 minutes, sorry, which is 2.5 hours of moderate exercise a week. That's the minimum. So I'm not saying just do that. Like, that's the minimum. And for intense workouts, you want to do a minimum of 75 minutes. All right?
Good job, Jerry. Good job. Let's give it up for her. Yes, she is our scientist here.